Yo, yo, yo. Hit 'em high, hit 'em low. It's the No Bull Just Ball podcast. It's your boy Nick Hughes, Brandon Brito. Julian, how's it going, sir?
Could be better.
Yeah, it's tough, man. We're gonna get into it. We're talking trade deadline today. Same thing we talked about last week, except we're on the other end of it now. Some things have changed, some things are a bit different.
We are officially not GM worthy. I do want to put that out there.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can get into a little bit of the who got it right, who didn't. I think that's
I got a few right myself. I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like there was a few that I feel like we hit on. Was not all of them. But there were some things that were correct generally. So we'll get into that. We'll get into it. All right, so we'll start here. Julian, you have two teams on the very opposite end of the spectrum, but both playing out west there.
They are.
And, usually, I think just because we go by standings and stuff, we tend to talk about the East first in any case. But this time we're going to switch things up. We're going to start with the easy one. We're going to talk about the NL West. And
what are we going to say?
I was going to say. So I think there's the clear-cut winner in the NL West with the trade deadline is the San Diego Padres.
Okay. I don't even think it's just the NL West. They won the trade deadline with the whole MLB.
All right, we'll maybe. Anyway, we'll get into that. We could talk about that. I got some boys who might disagree.
Conversation starters there.
All right, so San Diego Padres, they go all out. I mean, all in, I should say. By the way, Brandon, I really appreciate the old school Familia Pizzeria cup that you were just drinking out of.
Old school. Got to bring him back at some point because he's not in the league.
Yeah, that was clutch, man. I didn't even. Why do you have that? Anyway, moving on. So sorry. That was just wow. That was a lot. Anyway, the Padres, they get Juan Soto, they get Josh Bell, they get Brandon Drury, they get Josh Hader. This sounds like a National League All-Star lineup. Joining Manny Machado are returning Fernando Tatis. Will Myers is still there. Luke Voit and Eric Hosmer have a blood feud now. I mean, it's a lot to unpack with what just went on in a couple days in San Diego. I think we should start with the last part. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much does Luke Voit hate Eric Hosmer right now?
10.
I don't think he hates Eric Hosmer as much as Mets fans hate Eric Hosmer. So I'll give him like a 7.
But Luke Voit just went from potentially winning a ring to being stuck on the worst team in baseball for the next 2 to 3 years.
Oh, I agree. That part absolutely sucks. The reason why I mentioned that about the Mets fans is because by him nixing that first baseman deal in the whole entire Juan Soto package, he then was obviously he's not going to stay in the Padres, so they ship him out where? To Boston. The only suitable suitors for Dom Smith, and the Mets were no longer allowed to trade with them. So if so facto, we hate him too. But in regards to the Luke,
I'm going to be completely honest. I thought you were going a full 2015 rant about I didn't even think about this angle.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought you were going World Series.
That was the first thing I literally thought. The second it happened, I was like, well, the Red Sox aren't trading with the Mets because they got the first base. That's all they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in regards to Luke Voit, I think I would be just as pissed as him. But I mean, not for nothing. It sounds like he's gotten recently the shit end of the stick. He did not live up to his hype as much as Yankee fan wanted to say it. They shipped him out, and now it's kind of like, I don't want to say downhill, but he's not the impact player that everyone thought he would grow into.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. No, I don't disagree with you there. You root for guys. You want them to be the best version of themselves, especially now in a situation where, I mean, what else are you really showing up to watch in Washington at the moment? So,
I just
San
find
Diego.
it so funny that in Washington, they still have those banners up
Yeah, that was
of
hilarious.
Bell and Soto. That's how desperate they are and little they care about that team.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm really just fascinated by the fact that it really happened. We were texting a lot about it, once the Eric Hosmer wrinkle came up, for me, I kept telling you guys, it felt like last year with the Scherzer Turner thing where it was like, Scherzer Turner to the Padres, it's a done deal. Like, this is going to happen. And then the next day, they're both Dodgers. So I really, up until yesterday, where I saw Juan Soto take the field in a Padres uniform and take that first bat, that is when I finally bought into, all right, they for real didn't get screwed by the Dodgers this time. I kept waiting for that shoe to drop. Like, well, nope. The Dodgers came in, saw what the offer was, and just bested it.
That's hilarious. I mean, can't put it by them the way last year went. I will say, though, my question to you guys, a very early prediction and early answer here, because obviously we don't know how the next 2 years are going to play out. Is Juan Soto signing an extension?
I firmly believe he's not, just because I don't think San Diego is going to have the money to sign him. Because they're paying Manny, they're paying Fernando. They might have to pay Hader. They just paid Musgrove. I genuinely believe San Diego has this 2 to 3 year window they see, and they're like, okay, let's capitalize it. If not, let's go back to try to retool, do what we can. Yeah, I don't know if they can really sign Soto to that mega contract.
I think to your point, if San Diego is able to walk away with their first World Series title in the next 3 seasons, I don't think anyone says this is a bad trade. Like, if Soto walks away and San Diego gets their very first World Series out of it, Soto is forever a hero in San Diego. He is put on a pedestal. He might get his number retired. We might see 22 hanging in the rafters for 2.5 because of 2.5.
As soon as he signs with the next team.
It's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I actually think because what him and Fernando Tatis are essentially the same age, if I'm not mistaken, a year apart. Yeah. I think Tatis being locked into a long-term deal there that does not, yes, it's a lot of money backloaded. I think, and this is the thing, people keep talking about the Soto extension as though it's a guaranteed 15, 14, whatever it is year deal. If you're Juan Soto at 23, I am so sorry. I'm almost NBAing this thing. I'm going, every year I want a 2-year opt out after the first.
Yeah.
If I play well in that first, which again, he's a 23-year-old who is already considered one of the best players in baseball, best pure hitters in baseball. I'm taking it as, all right, I'm going to play this year. If I play well, I opt out, get more money. If I don't play well, I opt in and play well the second year. Like, there is no precedent for him to get this long-term deal. This isn't a pitcher. He's not going to suffer Tommy John and be out 2 years. That's not how this works for him. He is a corner outfielder, not even a center fielder where he's going to, a leg injury is going to derail him. Like, he is in a perfect spot to consistently reset the average annual value market. There's no need for this long-term extension everyone else is trying to talk about. I think there's no reason the Padres can't be in it in this Juan Soto sweepstakes on a year-to-year basis. There's no reason they can't be. And if, like I said, if they're able to bring a ring and he gets to experience, winning in San Diego and that Southern California vibe, it's not LA, but it's, Tatis is there, his boy. Machado's there, his boy. There's no reason he can't stick around.
Yeah. I will want to put in there, too. I have read in a couple articles that Padres, like brass and front office, is basically saying that their route is, we're gonna try and go all in this year. They're competing with the Dodgers in terms of monetary value and how much money they're putting into the lineup, as well as the win now mentality with star power. Worst case scenario, I heard that they're gonna give it until next trade deadline, and then they're gonna turn around and try and sign him. And if they don't have any trophies to show for it, they don't have any money going for it, then they're gonna trade him and get all those prospects back. So it's kind of a win-win situation from them the way they're trying to play it out. It'd be interesting.
I mean,
Now to your point, Nick, I can see that happening if his agent is anybody but Scott Boras.
True.
I mean, I guess the one
Scott
thing
Boras is known for these long, dragged-out contracts that have a shit ton of money in them. It's going to happen. I just don't see it happening in San Diego.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you, and I know that is the book on Scott Boras. But also, this is a very different. We can do a whole podcast, and we'll cut it after this. But for me, I look at it and I say, Scott Boras has had a lot of incredible clients over the years. He has never had Juan Soto.
True.
He has never had a 25-year-old hitting the open market, getting set to be the highest paid player in history. Like, that's a whole new territory. Machado and Harper were 2 years older, and they were considered very young free agents. Like, this is a next level that baseball has not seen. This is the equivalent of, like I said, an NBA style thing. So if you're Scott Boras, why not approach it? Why not approach it with that sort of amplification of, hey man, he's in a low contact, low risk position. Even if he gets hurt, is out a year, we made sure he is going to have a second year that he can opt into for max money for those two. Like, there's no. I can't justify in my head why lock himself in to eventually get eclipsed by the next big star. He can be the big star every year, 4 years. He can ring chase while simultaneously being the highest paid player in the sport. It's an unprecedented thing that he can do right now.
Yeah, I will say the closest thing that has come to this like recently, I would say is the Derek Jeter A-Rod scenario when A-Rod came over to the Yankees. But I'm not sure if he already had his deal set in place, though. I don't remember that. But I do.
Find out tonight.
Yeah. I know, right? Literally. I guess tune in after this podcast to the last episodes, right?
Exactly.
But, I also want to talk about Manny Machado. I know he was my early season favorite to win the MVP. I think this move will hinder that chance. There's just too much star power now. The option of pitching around him plus Manny Machado not having to do everything that he's been doing already kind of sucks, but we'll see what happens.
To be honest, I think now I hate to say it this way, if Tatis comes back and is Tatis of last year, my take on it is Tatis, Soto, Machado.
It's a tough 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna be honest, gun to my head, I'm pitching a Machado, which almost helps your MVP thing there. I'm not pitching a Soto. Tatis, if he comes back and he's even, let's say, 80% of what he was last year as a spark plug, pseudo MVP, I'm not pitching to that guy.
I think I would pitch to Tatis.
And then
out of the three of them because he's coming back.
I would.
But I'm saying until he proves that he can, and also you're forgetting about the other part of this trade is Josh Bell is going to be sitting right behind Manny Machado.
Not even just Josh Bell. We got Brandon Drury right behind him, who first game back hits a grand slam.
I mean, it's this is now a death lineup. Who do you pitch to? This is something we've talked about, and this is where I think the big, and I agree with you guys, and I was just trying to, poke the bear a little bit. San Diego won this because San Diego moved themselves into a realm of contention that they were not in. San Diego was a fringe wild card, and now San Diego is in that sort of region of the Dodgers, the Mets, the Braves in the NL or in the National League. And you could say they're on par with the Yankees and the Astros and the American League. They are in that realm of those are the teams you're expecting to be in contention for the World Series this year. San Diego, hell of a job out there. And I do want to give props to another team in that division real quick before we move to a different one. San Francisco Giants had and maybe the offers that they wanted just weren't there, which is some of the reporting that's come out. They wanted an insane ask for Carlos Rodon. Jock Peterson could have theoretically been on the move, wasn't.
From what I read, I heard that the reason they didn't get moved is because they were trying to package Rodon and Peterson.
I mean, that maybe that's it, and it just worked out. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they decided not to throw in the towel, because one of the more depressing things that I realized is had the Giants thrown it in, there would have only been 7 teams in the National League competing for 6 playoff spots.
Yeah.
And that would have been infuriating. So you have your 3 division winners and now 3 wild cards. As the standings hold up right now, the 3 wild cards would have been in order: San Diego, Atlanta, and Philadelphia, with St. Louis.
Atlanta has the first overall.
Yep, number 1.
Oh, sorry, Atlanta, San Diego, Philadelphia,
And then
with
St.
Louis on the outside looking in. San Francisco sort of keeping their guys. Feels like, all right, they're still in it. They could still theoretically take it. I think you kind of have to eliminate the Marlins back here. But even still, I just wanted to give props to them real quick for trying to stick it out. You never know.
They're just interesting because last year it kind of like fooled them of where they were in their rebuild process.
Yeah.
So like they probably thought that they were all in this year. They can compete with the big dogs, all that, because they were able to do it last year. Things didn't replicate itself. They're currently 6 games out, so it is going to be a steep climb back into this.
Yeah.
But it'll definitely be interesting, especially since I think they beat the Dodgers today.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
No, they did. It is gonna be interesting, but I mean, when you look at the wild card race right now, the spots, it's Atlanta, like you said, Atlanta, San Diego, Philly, St. Louis, then San Fran. Philly is kind of that mystery team right there that no one really knows how they're gonna play out the rest of this season. I think like a middle of the pack rest of the schedule. They for nothing, the next like 2 to 3 weeks they play the Mets and the Braves many times. Kind of like, I don't know. So San Francisco, sorry, if they play right, you never know. They could slide right in there.
Exactly.
So actually, we can, we'll jump around this one. We don't have to go chronological. You mentioned a team, the Philadelphia Phillies. Right now, I want to hear about one move in particular.
What's up?
The Philadelphia Phillies went out and acquired Noah Syndergaard from Julian's LA Angels. What are your feelings on that?
I mean, honestly, if we're really talking about it here, it's a scary move because it's a match made in heaven for both of them. I mean, you have Noah Syndergaard, who is in competition for Ultimate Troll of the Year every year. He always wants to make sure that the people who doubted him realize exactly what they lost. So I'm not surprised that he got traded in division. Truthfully, I thought it would make more sense for him to go to Atlanta because they're more ready this year on the 1-year contract he's on to go and play in the playoffs. Philly has a steep climb. Bryce Harper's trying to come back by September. The jury's still out on if that'll actually happen or not. But I mean, look, Syndergaard didn't pitch too great today. I don't think he has the stuff he used to have. He's a decent nowadays 3-4 starter, but I don't think it's as big of an impact as, let's say, he pre-injury was at his stardom. I would be a little more nervous. I'm not really concerned too much about Syndergaard. I mean, and also let's remember the only game he was slated to pitch against the Mets, he missed the start for extra rest. So I think the psychological warfare is getting to him specifically more so than it would to the Mets and definitely the Atlanta Braves. So I'm not worried.
Okay.
I do like this trade in terms for the Phillies because they have a real solid starting pitching core right now. Because they have Nola, Wheeler, like you said, Syndergaard is a 3 or 4. He's probably best right now as either your 3 or 4th best pitcher in your rotation. So he is 3, and then you got Kyle Gibson, and then you have Suarez. They've been mixing in a lot of other people. They do have a really solid core, and it's all just comes down to what can they do with their offense, because their offense has been super, super hot and cold throughout this entire year.
Mets won.
Nice.
Congrats. They won they beat Atlanta.
Was that a 4-game lead now?
4.5.
4.5. All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good. And then with the additions they also made with Brandon Marsh, they have a really solid. That they're only probably positive fielder now on the entire team in center field. So they have something going for them. They did just. I saw DFA Didi today. I don't know. The Phillies are going to be weird. I do probably see them making that last wild card spot and then getting bounced by the Brewers.
Yeah, I was going to say that becomes a very weird one. I do want to quickly. So the Phillies had an interesting, sort of trade deadline. I'm going to be honest, Brandon. The Mets really let me down on this one.
All right, I know it's gonna come up. Let's hear it. Go ahead. I have an opinion. Go ahead.
I let me be very clear. As presently constructed, I do think the Mets are a World Series contender. I think it almost reeks. I hate to say that this way. It almost reeks of complacency. That there were upgrades that could have been made. I think, getting another strong outfielder. I think, Daniel Vogelbach is a fun guy. I think Mets fans are going to love him instantly. Very fun dude. I think it's a cute piece, but it's not a put you over the hump piece. Fixing, adding depth to that bullpen was something that I think the Mets needed to go out and do. You almost saw the repercussions instantly with the Jacob deGrom start, where it almost feels like, all right, what is it? New year, same thing. He comes back, pitches a gem, and bullpen blows it. For me, I look at it and I go, all right, you showed me so much in the offseason. You have pieces. Finish it. It was just my take on it. Finish the job.
I think that's the general consensus, and there's nothing wrong with that take. Initially, that was my take too. Like, as a diehard fan, emotions got. I was like, "What are you doing? Are you guys sleeping at the wheel? Do you guys know the trade deadline? Did you hit snooze too many times? Like, what's going on?" I was genuinely getting pissed. But then I took a step back and I thought about it. In terms of a letter grade for the deadline, I'm gonna give them a B-. The B- for the deadline because of the actual trading pieces that they did. Like you said, they got Givens, who's worked with Buck before, so Buck knows what he's getting in him. So I kind of saw that trade makes sense. He's having a solid year, although yesterday didn't really show that, but he was having a solid year. So
I don't disagree. I like Michael Givens.
They solidified that bench, specifically the platooning aspect that Buck doesn't like to call platoon, but let's be honest. From here on out, their platooning situation and their bench is absolutely amazing, especially with the position flexibility of the players they have. You brought in Vogelbach and Naquin. Two guys for the year had a combined home run count of 24 to replace Dom Smith and JD Davis, who had a combined home run count of 3 for the year. So that's actually an impressive stat to look at. Then what sucks is the catcher situation. We really need to upgrade that. I don't want to rush Alvarez up at the end of the year, let him still develop and learn and get a little better catching. The power's there, the hitting's there, but let's get that defense up. The outfield, I agree, that's out, but outfield not really, because Naquin is a pretty good outfielder, so I don't really think that is too bad. I have the whole rant. I'm ready for this.
Okay, go ahead.
I give the whole day a B because DeGrom obviously came back. That's your other starter. That's the starter. The baseball is better when DeGrom's back. Let's be honest.
Of course.
Oh, 100%.
He pitched amazing. Does it suck the way that ended? Yeah, but that's, like you said, it's a normal DeGrom situation where I think he's just cursed to have bad offense on the days he pitches. I do think the bullpen situation is going to change. It seems like the route they're going is they're going to move Peterson to a relief spot come playoff time. They're going to move McGill to a relief spot come playoff time. They're going to kind of use that long starting pitching possible depth and transition it into bullpen depth. I do wish they got another left-handed pitcher, but that's beside the point. My final thing I want to say about this, and which is why I took a step back and said it wasn't a bad day, is because this is the first year the Mets have the good fortune of having that flexibility, both in terms of not even the winning aspect, but just they had an amazing draft. Like nowadays, they're projected to be around the 6th best farm system in the MLB. It's too early, and their farm system is too shallow to just trade away everything you got to in win now mode. Steve Cohen said a couple things. He initially said, I want to win a World Series within my first 5 years of owning the team. But he also said, I want to develop a strong farm system and be the Dodgers of the East. To do that, you need to have at least 2 or 3 farm system depth pieces and depth addition pieces built on your system. I think if this happened next year, I think the Mets would have 100% been all in, traded some pieces. I think it's just a year too early. And I genuinely agree that the asking price, we don't want another PCA like last year where we traded away a solid prospect in terms of PCA for Javier Baez, who not only stirred problems with the fans, didn't even resign here. You don't want to do that again. You want to keep trading away your valuable pieces for big name stars. I think they solidified. I think they're still contenders. And I like it. In terms of trade value, I give them a B-B, but I like what they did this year. So let's see what happens.
I think my only, and this is really what it comes down to for me with the Mets, my gripe, and this is something we're going to get into with a number of the divisions. My gripe is when you see your top competition make moves, you counter. And that is the thing that I did not see from the Mets that made me uncomfortable. Because let me be clear, I'm a Yankee fan through and through, but I'm a New York guy beyond that. Yankees not playing, go Mets. All right, let's do it. But for me, it felt, like I said, it felt almost complacent. It's, this roster is presently constructed it said a lot of things to, you're saying, okay, we're better than the Braves in our division. The Phillies got no chance, and we're not even in it. But we're better than the Braves, who already, it felt like, leading into the deadline, hunted us down quite a bit. Then on top of it, we're better than the Dodgers. We're better than a Padres team that just went out and got everything. And we're not scared of the team coming out of the American League. This is what it reeked of to me personally.
No, I get that. I think at the end of the day,
that's the thing is, and it's coming from a vantage point of viewing the Mets as a legitimate World Series contender.
Yeah. No.
Where I say is it's okay. What did the other World Series contenders go out and do? And I think that's the other. We could touch on that, and I'm almost upset we missed it in the NOS. The Dodgers, stood pat, and this is the first year. I'm going to be very honest. The Dodgers, it feels like, are bleeding. It feels like the Dodgers are bleeding. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. If I'm in the National League, I don't fear the Dodgers this year like I did.
Yeah, because their starting pitching's banged up, so that's why you don't really feel. I genuinely thought they were going to go after a starting pitcher at some point. And the fact that they only came away with Joey Gallo, that right there screams complacency more than the Mets. Because the Mets have at least made moves.
But here's the difference, and this is what I will say. Not for nothing to the Dodgers' credit. The Dodgers won a World Series 2 years ago. The Dodgers have been in a World Series damn near every year. In the last 5, what have they been to? 3 of the last 5 World Series?
Yeah.
Not for nothing, that screams, okay, we can believe in what we got.
When you have Mookie Betts, Trey Turner,
that's a little bit of a different.
Okay, yeah, we're okay.
We're going to really solidify our DH spot because everybody else is an all-star. So let's just make sure that we're going to add an all-star there. At the end of the day.
That can now hit the other way because he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. I also think that the Mets did what exactly the Braves did last year. The Mets got impact guys and for positions that they really need that are there may not be big flashy names, but they're going to get the job done and they're doing really well this year. And look at how that worked out for the Braves last year. They won the World Series because of it. So you never know.
It's not even. You're also
I like
feeling
the confidence, man.
I'm gonna agree more towards Brandon because you're already feeling the immediate impact of some of these guys, like Vogelback and what's his Naquin had 3 home runs today.
Vogelback had a grand slam. I'm sorry.
Grand slam the
Grand
other
Salami
day.
himself hit a grand slam yesterday.
And like I was when I was watching the Mets game earlier today, Keith was bringing it up how like he's immediately impacted the whole clubhouse, and he's with everyone. So like a lot of those pieces, like I feel like were just complementary pieces that they needed, and it wasn't the big splash name that everyone was expecting them to go out and get.
And that's the thing is, I will say for me, and just to wrap this point up, I didn't need the big splashy ad for the Mets. I'm going to be very clear. You know, my biggest need for them was bullpen. You mentioned Peterson, McGill going to the pen in the playoffs. I think that's great. Theoretically, I would have liked, proven bullpen arms. Ready? The Phillies went out and got David Robertson, a name that I had going to the Yankees. If I'm not mistaken, one of you guys had going to the Mets, and that was the thing that made sense. Michael Fulmer would have made sense. Gregory Soto would have made sense. Those are names that even Jake Diekman from Boston.
Rafael Iglesias was on the market, and none of us knew it.
Yeah,
that's
hilarious. That's hilarious.
You know what?
Nothing for it.
There's our segue, I think. But Brandon, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Since we're getting into it, I hated this so much.
Hold on. Let Brandon get his closing thought.
No. My last take on it is just at the end of the day, I think the asking price was too high, and it's a year too early for the Mets to part with the prospects they wanted for all these players. Julian, go.
Oh, yeah.
Go.
No, just real quick because the Cubs there were reports saying, like, the Cubs just played their hand too heavy, and they were just trying to ask for too much.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I don't disagree.
Still a Cub. That was the dumbest thing they could have possibly ever done.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into it because my fucking God, I hate this. I have no idea what's going on. So none of this makes sense. Brandon Marsh getting rid of Brandon Marsh over Joe Adell is insane. I get Joe Adell has the better bat, but my God, can that kid not play fucking right field to save his life? A routine pop-up is like a fucking screamer down the right field line for him every single time. Like, I get Brandon Marsh is uncomfortable playing left and right, but he's still a really solid defender. Had a case for a Gold Glove this year. Is a solid contact 270 guy. He hasn't been living up to his height, but he's also his second year. And we got the Phillies' third prospect back for it. I kind of like that, but because we don't have any catching depth at all. But he's still in Double-A. It's a little bit. He has a big bat to him, but let's see if that translates because Angels can't develop their players outside of Mike Trout. And then this Rafael Iglesias trade just makes no sense to me. Because if we were going to trade him, why didn't we trade him last season before we signed an extension with him? And we still have 3 years on that extension. We sold so low. It doesn't make any sense.
I feel for you.
Can I be honest? My biggest gripe with the Angels, and it was sort of touched on as a joke when we did the podcast last week, the concept of a Shohei Otani trade. Clearly, the Angels were blowing it up, and we just thought it was a maybe, but, like, they were confident they were blowing this bitch up. Like, they were on that route. My thing is, you have one, quite possibly the most exciting player in baseball history in terms of, he's on one end Juan Soto and on the other end Jacob deGrom. Like, what is, like, you almost can't even quantify what the asking price would be. That being said, though, I'm almost worried at this point for the Angels. Otani only has next season left on his contract with the Angels. Now, for another team, he is a rental for a single year or a single stretch run if he somehow is still an Angel through the trade deadline next year. I almost now fear that the Angels wasted the one chance to really, like, you could have built a farm system in
quick reset with one trade. And like, I want to see Shohei with this team, and sorry for cutting you off. I want to see him with this team, but the only way not trading him made sense is if on the trade deadline you get that extension signed. That's the only way.
I mean, it's just here's the thing is we talk about with Juan Soto the long extension doesn't make sense. Test that over market, get your money. Shohei Otani could theoretically get paid like two different players. He could say, all right, I want to see what Soto gets, and I want to see what DeGrom gets, and put it together. I want 80. He can theoretically ask for that. Like, that's not, and he wouldn't be crazy for asking for it. Like, we couldn't say that, he's wrong. He's doing the job of two men and doing it at an elite level on both ends. So for that, if you are the Angels and you're going to just trash this thing anyway, he's not going to resign definitively. What is the precedent to want to be there anymore? Exactly. Like, you can't be, I'm so sorry. We all love Mike Trout. No one is enough of a Mike Trout fan to just hang out with him and not play winning baseball. No one is that big of Mike Trout.
I'm starting to get to that point.
This is where you now have to question, like, all right, we could have tomorrow, if you go back in, 2 days, maybe the asking price was insane, but you can, not for nothing, you can almost gauge the market at that point. They kept saying, oh, we're dangling Otani, they're dangling Otani. All right, New York Yankees, you need a starting pitcher and you want a left-handed bat because Joey Gallo hasn't been up to snuff. What are you willing to give for one guy who can do both for you?
Fills up two
Mets, you want a consistent third for the DeGrom Scherzer battery, and on top of it, give you the left-handed bat? What are you willing to give me? Hell, Dodgers, you want to play overkill? I got a way for you to do it. Like,
I think the Mets, though, not to keep tuning the Mets, this podcast, I'm really not trying to. It's funny to me. The Mets kind of called their bluff, let's say, the night before or the morning of trade deadline by straight up saying, we were trying everything, but our top two prospects, the Angels don't want to trade Otani. They went out, they said it got leaked to the media. And then ever since then, kind of like they
retracted. Yeah, I don't know for sure. But that's the thing is that's why for me, I'm not even the Angels fan on this podcast. I am pissed off for Angels fans. You're going to blow up the team around Trout and Otani. Trout is stuck. And Otani is now going to walk in a year. And you wasted your best chance to get, you got to play testing ground for an experiment that worked. And this was your chance to capitalize off it short of jersey sales. I mean, why didn't you pull the trigger? I can't wrap my head around this. But
it's not even it's a mix of that and then the other moves around here. It doesn't make any sense. I get capitalizing, but getting rid of probably the third or fourth best player on that team this year, and Brandon Marsh for a prospect that's 3 years away. Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
A team that's
rid of our closer,
the team that's borderline in contention too. The fact that they traded with the Phillies, who may not even be relevant in the offseason, makes this even more hilarious.
This is a lot, man. I don't understand.
I'm not gonna lie. If the Otani thing, Otani to the Mets happened, I was getting ready to be like, you know what? They also traded me. I am included in this deal. I'm getting to that point where I am just frustrated at this team. It makes no sense how incompetent someone can be.
So when he's a Dodger at the start of next season,
Oh, I'm not being a Dodgers fan.
oh my God, no! You know where he's going next year?
Where?
Fuck it, they'll go all the way with this. They don't have to pay any of these guys yet. San Diego, last year of the contract. Screw it. Why not?
They could. I think I was going to say the Giants.
He's not making. I think Otani's only making less, maybe
Dude.
less than a mil.
I was gonna say at that point, pull the trigger, man. Why not?
Yeah.
Go crazy. I'm sure they still have the prospects for it. Anyway, at this point, I'd give you the farm system. I give you you want Petco Park? You have it. We'll play at a little league stadium. I don't care. My starting four is Tatis, Soto, Machado, Otani. Dude, I give you whatever you want. All right, so we're gonna move from the AL West, from the AL West, we're gonna jump to the AL East.
All right, Nick.
Actually, wait. I do want to say one thing about the AL West, real quick.
Go on.
Couple contenders in the AL West.
Oh, we did forget about the two big ones while I was going on my rant.
Yep, no, it's all good. Houston Astros add Trey Mancini. They add Christian Vasquez. Feel like they added someone else. Am I crazy there?
Let me look because I have the list in front of me.
Maybe not.
No, it was just those two.
All right, so it was just those two. All right. Decent.
And Jaden Murray, my bad.
Who?
Jaden Murray from the Astros or from the Orioles. He's a back. Yeah.
So decent ads. I think the Astros are, they added where they needed to. They padded where they needed to. I wasn't really convinced the Astros were going to go out and be like heavy players here by any stretch. But I mean, value adds where you get them.
They also got Will Smith. My bad.
Oh yeah, Will Smith. That was the big one that I was thinking. In the case of Trey Mancini, we're all going to have to find a way to boo a cancer survivor. So that's going to be new.
That's nothing new for a bleach creature, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I'm already piecing it together. They cheated baseball, he cheated death, so clearly it's a match made in heaven. So that's where we're at. But we're gonna have to find a way. We'll persevere. I like the ads for the Astros. The Mariners get the big pitcher in Luis Castillo. I mean, for me, it almost guarantees the playoffs for them for the first time since 2001, which is already in it of itself. They make the playoffs. It's a celebration in the streets of Seattle.
Yeah.
The Seahawks suck again, so this is what they have to look forward to, I guess. I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure it sucks out there. It's also raining a lot out there from what I hear. So sorry, Seattle. So Seattle's playoff bound, it looks like. I guess maybe that's a question to pose here. Does that guarantee it for you guys? Luis Castillo to the Mariners.
I think they're going to be a top end. It's going to be a battle between them and Toronto. I don't know if it's enough for them to win a series to make it to the ALDS. If that makes sense.
I'm going to be honest. If they just get into the wild card round, I feel like there's a celebration brewing in Seattle. They're just
they're rioting in the street.
Oh yeah, for sure. The day they clinch.
I agree wholeheartedly with that point, Julian. I think it's a good first round, possibly second round exit. So they're making the playoffs, but they're not doing anything of substantial value. Their team is still very well, so I don't see anything crazy happening.
I'm right there with you. Not for nothing for Seattle. One way or another, it feels like your path leads to, if you win in the first round, your path means you're running into either the Yankees or the Astros. That's a tough pill to swallow. Like, regardless of the team at that point, that's a tough pill to swallow.
If I'm Seattle, I've been playing Houston great all year. I'd rather play Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Then the other team in the AL West to briefly touch on the Oakland A's finish the blow up, I guess, with Frankie Montas going to the Yankees. Did they get enough?
The Yankees?
No.
Oh,
Did
the
the A's get enough for the?
No,
No, but to them they did.
Fair. That was a strong take. I like that. That was a good take.
I remember like when the trade happened, you called my phone immediately, and you're like, "I am jumping up and down."
Like, there's no.
I can't believe we got Montas and didn't have to give up anybody within the top 5.
I think we literally gave up our 5th prospect and a couple guys outside of the top 10, and it was like mind blowing to me. Like, how did we do this? Brian Cashman, I'm gonna be honest. I think he has like naked pictures of Billy Bean's wife, and threatened to expose them, and that is how we got here. I'm pretty sure that is the rationale, because there's no way we should keep fleecing Oakland like this. This does not make sense.
Yeah, it's starting to get sad at this point.
I mean, it doesn't make
It is
sense.
what it is.
I truthfully think that just at the end of the day, it's just showing time and time again how cheap Oakland is. They need a new ownership. Unfortunately, they may need to move out of. You're hearing it here first.
In my head,
they're going to Vegas.
In my head, they're already in Vegas.
Yeah, like it's
in their heads, they're already in Vegas. You don't see all the videos with like the seats coming off in the Coliseum. Like,
yeah,
the place is literally falling apart. They're out.
That's why they're like, I don't even care. They're done.
They haven't hired. They haven't hired maintenance workers in like 2 years. They could give 2 shits.
Oh yeah,
it's falling apart. They're cool with it. Moving on to the AL East, we'll start with the team that I just said I think fleeced the A's. The Yankees have, in terms of name value, have quite the deadline. You get Andrew Benintendi, you add Frankie Montas, Lou Trevino, Scott Efros from Chicago, a lesser name, but a guy who's had a very impactful season. If he stays strong, he's 5 years of team control beyond this for the Yankees. And then just when you think the Yankees really, man, they had the deadline we all wanted them to, the Yankees go and do something interesting. And they trade Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader, who's currently in a walking group. So at first, I think Brendan, I'm almost having a similar reaction to you, where it's like I am outraged with the rest of my fan base, and then we all convince ourselves that this was the right thing, because that is what we do as sports fans, except Julian. And beyond that, though, I'm starting to think about it. One of you guys have the standings up at the moment?
Yeah, I got it up.
All right. I'm not even going to ask for a number. Anybody catching the Yankees?
No.
Okay. So, good enough.
11 games up is the number.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. The Yankees are now playing playoff baseball.
Yeah.
They have decided, all right, hopefully we get Severino back in early enough in September that, he gets a couple starts under his belt rolling into the playoffs. And then we have our 1, 2, 3 of Cole, Montas, Severino. Whoever's hot between Nestor and Tyone. I almost think by default they go Tyone because Nestor has bullpen experience. So that's your 4 starters. You got your bullpen now. It's a bullpen that consists of one of the best closers in baseball this year, Clay Holmes. You got the 2 new guys in Efros, Trevino. You have Lucas Licky. You have Nestor going out to the pen. Potentially a returning Chad Green or Zach Britton. If Chapman or Loiza, either one is able to figure it out to an extent that they did last year, you have a pen. You have 4 starters. And now you just added a guy who, even if he just for this season acts as a defensive replacement or a pinch runner, if that's not playoff baseball, I don't know what is. Pull your big bat in the 8th who can't swing it, or who can't play the field, aka Giancarlo Stanton. Pull Matt Carpenter out of the outfield, pull Aaron Hicks out of whoever you got to pull out of the outfield and plug in Harrison Bader. Or you're, down a run and all of a sudden you're going Red Sox did to the Yankees in 04 with David Robertson pinch running at first. Got Harrison Bader over there now, who's, a plus speed guy, great base running instincts. It's playoff baseball is what the Yankees play. And I can live with that. I will say, as a Yankee fan, I'm curious as an outside take, how do the Yankees look from your perspective, guys?
I'll let you go first, Brendan.
Okay. Cool. I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of this is when you see the front office, and it's similar to the Mets, but in a grander scale, in terms of star power and stuff. This is when you see the front office acting like a front office. This is not the fans making emotional decisions. This is not the fans sitting here saying, dictating exactly what needs to happen. You have the front office sitting there saying, okay, not only are we trying to get immediate impact for our team this year with the season that we're having, the unique, probably record-worthy season we're having. On the other hand, we have to think about the future. 2 points you didn't make. Them doing all this in terms of Frankie Montas, they got rid of Montgomery, but still, in terms of Frankie Montas, adding him, that allowed Sevy to then transfer to the 60-day IL, giving even more time to just rest, recover, get ready. They're not going to need him till the playoffs. He'll be fine by then. Them sitting here and getting Bader and the last second in the Montgomery deal protects them then for the offseason. Aaron Judge leaves to San Francisco or wherever else he goes. Okay, we have a defensive center fielder who Aaron Judge has been manning. We wanted Aaron Judge choose to stay. Okay, we're going to trade away Giancarlo Stanton, get a haul back of prospects. Now we still have a defensive center fielder, slide Aaron Judge over to right field or DH when he doesn't want to play there, figure it out. I think in terms of just forward thinking, the Yankees hit the nail on the head with these moves they made. They made the splashy moves early. They were smart and jumped on, I think it was Benintendi for what they gave up because everyone's too focused on Shohei Otani and Juan Soto that they're not getting any clout for Benintendi. So the Yankees are all right, we're going to do the right thing, give low-level prospects, get them as a steal. And then when people were like, oh shit, let's look for Benintendi. Oh wait, just joking, he was already traded because they dropped the ball there. The front office acted as a coherent and competent front office, and I think that they did it well.
My take is I 100% get what you're saying. I feel like that last trade, I loved everything the Yankees were doing until that last trade felt a little incomplete to me. When I was going through Twitter all day, seeing the trade deadline, I see that trade, I'm like, okay, this feels like something bigger is about to come, especially since we talked about it. They're able to save all of those prospects from the Montas trade, from the Benintendi trade. Okay, we can go out and get Rondon. That's genuinely what I thought was going to happen. Yankees are going to pretty much just let me solidify 1, 2, 3, and 4 for sure. Let me get that ready for the playoffs. But then I feel like something happened behind the scenes that we probably won't know until 6 years from now when they do a documentary on this trade deadline, where the Yankees got screwed up on something, and I just can't put my finger on what.
It's a good take.
I can.
Yeah.
The reports were coming out pretty late into the deadline that Pablo Lopez was the guy for the Yankees. Then you see the Bader for Montgomery thing, and all of a sudden the Marlins pulled the plug on Pablo Lopez being traded. Was oh, wait, that was the back end of that. So I'm going to give Cashman credit because, again, that's what we do as well.
But it's still even the Montgomery Bader trade on itself, you don't want to trade Monty, but like I said in our text group, you have to give something to get something.
Oh, for sure.
And I think Bader is going to be a solid player. Even if you don't even want to have Hicks out there, you can have Bader out there on the field too.
And
so
also
it gives them that flexibility that they've been needing.
Yeah. And also, we're well past the 80s, the 90s. We know at this point, when you get to playoff baseball, you're not running a 5-man rotation out.
Oh, yeah.
You're going 3, maybe 4. And in most cases, teams are throwing out 3 legit starters, and then if they throw out a 4th, guy in the rotation, it's an opener from the bullpen. So I mean, it's really something to consider that, where did Montgomery really factor in for the Yankees, who just went out and got Montes anyway? So it's definitely an interesting thought there. In the same division, a team I thought had a very curious. I almost don't know how to really gauge what they did. Trade deadline was the Boston Red Sox.
I think
because I feel like the Toronto Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays were. I hate to for 2 teams chasing the Yankees, chasing playoff stardom. Not for nothing. I feel like they just dropped the ball. They should have done more. I'm a big Whit Merrifield fan for the Blue Jays. Truthfully, I've wanted him to play meaningful baseball for years, and I'm so happy that he is finally going to be on a theoretical playoff contender. You're shaking your head, but I just want to say, I'm so happy for the man. Do you know what it is? Go ahead.
No. The reason why that's not going to happen because the news is coming out today that he's still not going to get vaccinated, so he can't play in Toronto.
Oh no! Don't tell me that. That just really made me sad.
Like big news. That's why I'm shaking my head. No, I was on board with everything you're saying. No. He's refusing to get vaccinated, so he physically cannot play in his home stadium.
That's the dumbest thing.
Damn.
We're not trying to get political with this podcast, but
it's not even just political. It's just I want to play baseball. I'd rather not play home games than play for the fucking Kansas City Royals. It's so dumb. Let me go play for a contender.
Can I just say? All right, that makes me think even worse of the Blue Jays deadline now. Not for nothing, I was really okay, Whit Merrifield is cool. I still don't think it's enough. I really would like him and stuff. They added 2, from Miami? They added Anthony Baz, Zach Pop to their pretty ailing bullpen. I think they needed to swap out Yusei Kikuchi for someone else. That wasn't working there. But also, I really think they needed to address the outfield. Yulieski Gurriel is is it Yuli Gurriel Jr.? Who's the one in Gurriel? Which Gurriel is in Lourdes Gurriel Jr.?
Yeah.
Is the one in Toronto. Hasn't had the season I think they wanted out of him. So that's been a little rough. I was unsure of it. Now you tell me that, I'm definitely saying they dropped the ball. Tampa Bay gave up one of their top prospects, and essentially their best return is what was it?
Exactly.
Who did they pick up?
Jose
Siri, but they got someone else too. I thought. Wait a second. Who else? Tampa Bay. Oh, David Peralta from Arizona was a good ad. I liked him a lot. Also lost Brett Phillips, who's just objectively entertaining. So I didn't love theirs. The one that just confused me was the Boston Red Sox, was what I was going to say. That just really screwed with me mentally. You trade Christian Vasquez. You trade Jake Diekman, but almost straight up you traded Jake Diekman. It felt like almost straight up for Reese McGuire, which was weird because you just traded Christian Vasquez as your starting catcher. You go get a different starting catcher for a bullpen that you needed help for. Then you trade your number 4 overall prospect in Jay Groom to bring in Eric Hosmer. And
didn't you get a prospect back too?
Huh? Yeah, but it was a lower level prospect.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
And then you also go out and get Tommy Pham. This was a weird one for me.
Yeah, I kind of can see it as This is moves for next year because they know they're out of it.
But I'm going to be honest, if this is moves for next year,
Oh yeah,
this is where I'm upset now. And again, I'm a Yankee fan. I am upset for the Red Sox and their fans that, okay, JD Martinez at age 35, 36, whatever the hell he is having a great season as a DH again. The power's not there, but he's top 5 in the American League in batting average. He is hitting the baseball and hitting it well. You now have a designated hitter everywhere in baseball. You are telling me you could not get a taker on JD Martinez.
You know what I think it is? Behind the scenes stuff, similar to what happened with your Yankees take. He's had a back issue for the last month and a half. I think the Red Sox are downplaying it, but I think other teams are genuinely nervous about that being an actual thing. That's why he doesn't have the power. And I think once it goes to the medicals, they're going to realize, I don't know if we want this. So they're offering up from the start low level of prospects for the Red Sox team to be like, yeah, I want to do this.
I mean, I guess and then the other thing is, all right, then you have Xander Bogaerts, who's going to opt out. Yeah. It almost feels like for me, it feels like a foregone conclusion. Xander Bogaerts is going to be the shortstop in St. Louis next year. I'm a firm believer in this. It's a team who's desperately needed a shortstop for ever. Basically, since Ozzie Smith, they've needed a shortstop. So, all right. It's a clear cut. He's not going to be a Red Sox next year. You don't need him to be a Red Sox next year. You just signed Trevor Story to a deal. What is the point of keeping him around just so he can opt out? And you cannot tell me attaching a qualifying offer to get a first round pick, and not even a first round pick, what is it, a second round or whatever it is worth letting a perennial all-star shortstop walk away from your organization. That does not make sense. I do not get it. You are now dead last, 5th in your division, behind the Baltimore Orioles. What are you doing? If you're going to blow it up, at least do it right. I don't get it.
It doesn't make. I can't justify any of this. I've been seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, they're retooling, but that's with the assumption that Bogaerts is gonna opt in, which he's not going to.
No, he's opting out, and there's no precedence to pay a man when you have someone who plays his position on the roster already, who does it better, at least defensively. The offensive thing is a different thing we can get into, but defensively, Trevor Story is objectively a better defender and a better base runner than Xander Bogaerts. The bat in the last few years has been a different thing, and I get that, and that is the reason Xander Bogaerts deserves to get paid and will get paid. But there's no precedence for the Red Sox to keep this man beyond this year. There's no precedent. It just makes no sense for me.
I think the unique take that kind of is the downside of loyalty here is that in the offseason, Xander Bogaerts is going to opt out. The Red Sox will then be literally stuck with either Xander Bogaerts or Trevor Story. Because if they give the money to Xander Bogaerts, I can guarantee you Trevor Story is getting traded away. And maybe that'll be he gets packaged then with JD Martinez, maybe wherever, but they play their hand a little too close to the chest there, and they did it the absolute wrong way. They were leading with loyalty, and that's what's going to bite them in the ass.
For me, this was too much of a head scratcher here. I really struggled with this one. And again, I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm a Yankee fan who understands that baseball is better when for the first time for the last 20 years, the Yankees and Red Sox were kicking, we went 100 years without them ever being competitive at the same time. The last 20 years, they've literally been kicking the shit out of each other. And it's been a bloodbath, and it's been good for the sport. Unequivocally good for the sport.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm frustrated as a baseball fan to watch one of the better teams in the last 20 years essentially I would have rather seen them mail it in to at least like, all right, you're going to better another contender with Xander Bogaerts. You're going to better another team. And I'm going to be honest, to your point, Brandon, about JD Martinez, there's a number of teams who need a big right-handed bat in their lineup. And whether JD Martinez is hitting the ball 500 feet or not, dude, I would take JD Martinez and I would give up a top 5 prospect. Because JD Martinez is the thing for a team like St. Louis, for a team like Milwaukee, for a team like Minnesota, some of these central teams. Hell, you could have made the argument that if San Diego wasn't able to attach Josh Spell in the Nationals trade, they could have made JD Martinez work in San Diego, make him your DH, keep Luke Voigt or Eric Hosmer. Like that could have worked. The Dodgers, why not plug and play? There's enough teams out there who could have used that bat that I can't justify in my head the Red Sox not. It doesn't make sense to me that the offers weren't there. You can't tell me that. It's more of a you just didn't look for them.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. It's really disappointing. Speaking of disappointing, all of the Central.
Every single Central.
Like, it's weird. I guess the Twins.
Hate all of it.
I guess the Twins win.
I'm glad someone in the AL Central finally decided, hey, let me win this division.
Basically. Because
I do like what the Twins did, but everybody else, I don't understand.
This was a tough one to watch. So ready? The Twins add Tyler Mahle from the Cincinnati Reds, I think was the forgotten man in all of the starting pitcher hype. He's a guy who got out of the gate slow, probably should have been ranked a little higher. Coming into the year, I would have actually, in terms of Noah Syndergaard coming back from, Tommy John and everything, I would have put Tyler Mahle coming into the year right behind Castillo, Montas. It would have been Mahle and Syndergaard for me. He's got off to a slower start. I get it. He goes to Minnesota. On top of it, they go out and get Jorge Lopez from Baltimore. And then I get upset because the one thing that makes me cringe is interdivision trades.
Yeah.
Especially interdivision trades between contenders in that division. The fact that the Cleveland Guardians just handed over the catcher that the Minnesota Twins needed made me very mad. You guys are separated by 2 games at the deadline. And this is the worst part. That is the only move that the Cleveland Guardians made.
I mean,
was just making their top competition better. What?
It doesn't make sense.
Wait. Then we've gotten into the Chicago White Sox almost ad nauseum about how much of a bitter disappointment they've been. They were my AL pick to come out this year. Everybody shit talking me, by the way, about the Padres, and we can talk about that. But I had Padres and White Sox. And one team did their part to make me not look like an idiot. And the other just doubled down on, you know what? Screw Nick this year. You should have picked the Yankees. What are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing?
That front office is doing what Tony La Russa is doing in the games. Falling asleep. It's just baffling. Yeah. Like, you guys know you have to make a move. Make a move that'll jumpstart like the clubhouse. Do something. Don't just sit there looking up. How many games are they behind, everybody?
They're only 3 out.
They're 2 games out.
Yeah.
White Sox are 2 games out. Cleveland is a game out of Minnesota. I don't get any of this. I hate it.
And
I think I hate the Centrals out of everybody.
Oh, of course. This is the thing that pisses me off too. Okay, is all right. We talked about Seattle, and I mentioned how for them, it is a celebration to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because they haven't done it since 2001. That's all well and good. That's a feel-good story about a ownership and front office who went through the struggles, and it's not like they haven't been trying to build contenders in Seattle. They've been trying for a long time. It just hasn't panned out the way it has now. Good for them. Between Minnesota, Cleveland, and now the White Sox, each of those teams have won the division. Why is that all you are playing for at this point? Like that
I don't
does
feel
not
like that's what they're playing for, because no one wants to win this division.
But not for nothing. One of these three teams is going to win the division, and then is going to get instantly bounced. I'm going to be honest. I don't even trust the winner of this division to get past any of the wild card contenders, unless the wild card contender is also in this division.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like if the third wild card team, let's say it finishes as is right now, and it's Twins and Guardians or Twins and White Sox, then maybe who cares? But the Mariners are beating any team in this division. The Blue Jays are beating any team in this division. The Rays are beating any team in this division. I'll go as far as to say the Orioles and the Red Sox are beating any team in this division. Like, what are you doing?
The only team that I think has a respectable background history out of this entire thing is the Guardians, just because of their management brass in terms of coaching. That's the only team that I see that has somewhat level of competency out of the three of these teams.
But
I get Cleveland not making. I get Cleveland not making a move solely because they're ahead of their schedule. They're ahead of where they were supposed to be.
But here's the thing. No, I'm going to stop you there.
They shouldn't have traded for Minnesota because you're there almost getting the division.
But beyond that, you're no longer ahead of schedule. A guy who should have been part of your package for a rebuild, Jose Ramirez, you just re-signed.
Yeah.
That's it. When you re-sign a star MVP caliber player, that indicates we're not rebuilding.
Yeah.
We are contenders. This is how we view ourselves. We view ourselves as winning in this window. If this is not the time to win, when your entire division is treading water barely above 500, when is? Like, I mean, I'm so sorry. And this could go for every team in this division. Short of, Kansas City is still trying to figure out what their rebuild looks like. The Tigers made some steps, but clearly it wasn't it this year. The White Sox were rebuilding for forever, finally got a taste of glory last year, and sucked this year. And they just outright sucked.
The White Sox, I am waiting for that bombshell report for the White Sox, because speaking of competent front offices, there is so much wrong that is under wraps with the Chicago White Sox. I am waiting. The second the Russa bomb drops of him getting fired, the entire front office is going to explode, and it's going to be absolutely hilarious.
You would think that, but at this point, I have to say it would have happened already.
No, I don't think so.
He's going to get fired at the end of the season.
Yeah.
They're going to give him the freaking team. They're going to say own it. Like he has whatever Cashman has on Billy Bean, La Russa has on like the White Sox ownership. That is the case. This does not make sense. Like whatever mob ties he has in the south side of Chicago, it is playing through hardcore, because this does not make sense. Like you are built on paper. I mean, you go up and down this roster
to own this division.
Oh, screw owning the division. There's a reason they were my World Series pick. This is a team. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. Jose Abreu at first base. Second base was always going to be your question mark, but you decided on a platoon of Josh Harrison, Leody Garcia. I'm cool with it. I can roll with it. Third base, Yoel Moncada. Shortstop, Tim Anderson. Left field, Eloy Jimenez. Center field, Luis Robert. Right field, Adam Engel. And on top of it, you went out and traded for A.J. Pollock before the start of the season. There is no way.
Yeah.
Like the starting rotation, you had a former Cy Young candidate, Lucas Giolito. You had Dallas Keuchel at the start of the season. You have your surprise has been Dylan Cease pitching phenomenally. You have Michael Kopech. You have one of the best closers in baseball in Liam Hendricks. What is happening? And why are you not fixing it? I cannot fathom this.
You know why. We all know why. I don't know why we're jumping.
Like,
I'm going to blame it on him until he gets fired and he turns it around.
I mean, I hope it is that simple, but I hate to say this. It feels almost as just, and not to give him some semblance of credit or like an out year, it almost feels like he's just the easy scapegoat now because now he's the figurehead we just obviously disagree with. But like,
I mean,
I'm so sorry, he doesn't have front office control.
No, but he has field control. I mean, look, whether we admit it or not, look at what happened with what's his name, Jermaine Mercedes or whatever last year.
Yeah.
The guy that was literally like projected to be an absolute all-star, absolute stud the year before,
Oh, for sure.
absolutely killing it. He gets on this idiot's bad graces, and then not only is he shipped off, his ego's shot. No one, like, he's not. I think he's on the Giants now. No one hears of him. He's doing it. He's playing pretty solid. Just no one's ever heard of him. And like, the concept is, you lead by example, and his example is so stuck in the 80s that it's just not competent enough to work with all the all-star and all the firepower you have on your team currently.
I don't disagree with you, but where I say is this has to come from higher up than him then. Because not for nothing, like if the entire front office's mindset is, all right, so we got the big name coach, we got these big name guys standing at every position. I don't care that none of them are performing from the manager on down. We're just gonna let it rock because we're cool with names. Like, that is where I draw the line. Like, all right, you're in a division, arguably, with 4 rebuilding teams.
Yeah.
Why are you not running away with this? You should have the best record in baseball because you get to play those 4. You get to play the Twins, Guardians, Royals, and Tigers more than anyone else. Why are you not running away with this?
For the last season in MLB history, too.
Like, I can't put this together. And then we're going to flip now to the National League side of the Central, which, I mean,
no one wants to win this fucking division.
I mean, the Brewers give up Josh Hader. And if you're going to give up Josh Hader, I felt like the package should have been better.
There's another year after him, too. Is a year and a half left on his contract. It's
literally the best closer in baseball right now. And I get he's had a rough patch, but it's also because he's playing in Milwaukee where clearly they don't care.
And immediately the Brewers gave up a big lead. They saved today.
I don't get me wrong. I like Devin Williams a lot. He's going to inherit the role and do well in it. Let me be very clear about that. I just think if you're going to say this is the time to give up Josh Hader, I'm all for trading him to a contender. I don't care where the hell you trade him, as long as it's not St. Louis. Let me be clear about that. You're going to give up Josh Hader. I'm cool. Leave him in the National League. San Diego, I thought the Mets would have been a very interesting play there. You get an 8-9 of Edwin Diaz, Josh Hader, whoever has less of an ego to take the 8th inning. Jesus Christ, you took away 2 innings of baseball. I was really fascinated about that thing.
I was hoping for that, but they had a bigger push.
It's okay, and that's okay. My thing is, I do not want a package in return of. I mean, I like Trevor Rogers. Is it Trevor Rogers, the one that just came over?
Yeah.
Trevor Rogers, used to be with Minnesota. He's been traded now twice in the span of 6 months, 4 months. Yeah. I like him a lot. He's about to be a free agent. So you traded the better piece for rental, a couple of fringe prospects.
Just so you don't have to pay anybody.
But you didn't even have to pay him yet. I'm not getting this. So that was weird for me with Milwaukee. Did they do anything beyond that? Because
No.
no, they didn't. Right? That was their thing.
That was their only move. Was that, and it makes no fucking sense.
You needed a center fielder.
Can I say something real quick? I'm convinced every NL Central and AL Central team hate their fucking fans. Like, I am convinced they hate their fans. You cannot convince me otherwise, because they'd rather trade away, when you're leading your division, trade away winnable pieces just to save some money. Go fuck yourself.
Like, and this is
Central.
This is where it gets kind of like cringy. Like you start to go, oh, it's all small markets, right? All right. So 2 of these teams are Chicago.
Yeah, which Chicago, I mean, I like the Cubs moves besides them playing their hand.
What if I told you that then you have St. Louis, who always operates, and we're going to get into them specifically.
St. Louis is the only one that genuinely cares for their fan base.
But always operates as a big market. Love it. Love to see it. Okay. What if I told you of all of these teams in the 2 divisions? So so Chicago is in both places, right? Detroit is not a small market. Let me be very clear about that. Despite how much they lose, that is not a small market in any sport.
Act like they are.
Huh?
They act like they are.
Yeah, they always act like they are. They are not, though. Let's be very clear. You can make the argument the only teams that are theoretically a small market in either 2 divisions are Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Kansas City. Would theoretically be the only 3 teams that are deemed small markets.
And the funny thing is, they're the ones who actually don't act like a small market. They just run out of the funds to do what they do.
And that's mind-blowing for me. Now we turn to St. Louis. And with St. Louis, I think St. Louis is the victim of delusions of grandeur. I do not know how else to say this. Where fans got caught up in the Juan Soto thing, my take is the St. Louis Cardinals got caught up in the Juan Soto thing. Yeah. The St. Louis Cardinals' biggest need, and I'll give them credit because they addressed this, I guess, at the end by getting Jordan Montgomery. But you needed starting pitching, and you needed it bad.
Yeah.
The Yankees fleeced the Oakland A's for Frankie Montas. And the St. Louis Cardinals objectively have a better system.
Yeah.
That can't fly.
I'm surprised they weren't in on Rondon, to be honest.
Or Lopez.
Yeah, or Lopez.
Okay, so that's 1. 2, you desperately needed a shortstop because one of St. Louis's underrated moves, and I don't think underrated is the right under the radar moves. Let me go that way. They traded Edmundo Sosa to the Phillies.
Yeah.
Which means the only shortstop remaining on their roster is Paul DeJong, who has proven to be unable to hit a baseball since his rookie season.
Oh, not to mention they also got Jose Quintana, which I do like for them.
No. I like it. Good ads.
Yeah, not the trade they were going for.
I'm so sorry. Jose Quintana and clearly Jordan Montgomery, for obvious, the Yankees got one and traded the other, is not up to snuff with Frankie Montas. Yeah. They should have been in on Luis Castillo. Clearly, nobody in the Central cares about trading in division, so why not be in on it? Like,
don't care. But the thing is, the Cardinals are clearly, well, the division's clearly proving to the Cardinals they don't have to do much to win at this point.
But it's, again, this is where I struggle. There are the teams who should care about making the playoffs because, you haven't done it in so long. This has to now be the thing that you strive for.
Yeah.
If you were the St. Louis Cardinals, and also, let me be very clear, this goes for the Milwaukee Brewers as well. You should not be playing to make the playoffs. Given the state of your division, that's easy. I can run a little league team out there and make the playoffs in the NL or AL Central. I need you to try to win not just a series. You need to be World Series bound. You need to be World Series contenders at this point. Again, you play in the weakest divisions in the sport. Beat
Especially
up on those teams. This is not a dogfight. This is you fighting a couple of toddlers. Like, this does not make sense. Like, this, like, I need an explanation from someone here somewhere. A St. Louis Cardinals team that currently has 2 MVP candidates on their roster right now, batting 3 and 4 in Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, is out of playoff picture at the moment as we speak because the Phillies have overtaken them as the 3rd wild card we spoke about earlier.
They are a half game back of the division, though.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Okay.
How does he think they are?
So what does that say then about the division?
I mean, the more we talk about the St. Louis Cardinals, the more I genuinely feel they really didn't have to do anything. Like, it sucks because they're playing to just make the playoffs, but we can go back in time to when they were playing to just make the playoffs in the past when Albert Pujols was in their prime. And I'm pretty sure it was in his prime, and I'm pretty sure they won a World Series or 2 in that situation. So it's like they're operating the way they regularly do, and why fix something that's not broken because it works for them every single time.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Let's run a couple scenarios here, okay? So the St. Louis Cardinals, let's say they overtake not their division, but they overtake the Phillies, take that 3rd wild card spot, face the Brewers in the playoffs. Okay. Can they beat the Brewers? Yes.
Yeah.
They beat the Brewers. They are now lined up to face the New York Mets. Can they beat the Mets?
No.
So what is the point? Let's go about it the other way. They take the 3rd wild card. Again, they face the Brewers.
Or Philly, depending. But I still think they beat both of them.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so ready? You think. They might get bounced in that round. Okay, so beyond that. So again, theoretically, they're either getting bounced in the wild card round or getting bounced by the New York Mets, the Braves, or the Dodgers.
But it makes sense, but the thing is, they're a victim of tunnel vision in that scenario because they just were so fixated and focused and really they're thinking that they were going to get Juan Soto, and that was their demise. Because at the end of the day, if they just sat and just did a slight pivot to even someone like Benintendi or someone like insert any reliable bat that you could have gotten.
They literally, this is where if you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan, you have to scratch your head because you go, all right, so the deadline that the Yankees just had is probably what we needed. And ready? We didn't actually need the outfielder the way the Yankees did. Why were they so in on Soto? Like, it wasn't even a position of need. Their outfield was arguably the best part of that team. Short of the corner infield.
Yeah.
You're running Dylan Carlson, a healthy Harrison Bader, and then you have Tyler O'Neill. That's a really good outfield. Defensively, offensively, that team can perform. What is the obsession? Like, if you can get him, great. If not, you had actual things you needed to address. You traded away your starting shortstop, who was already ranked as one of the bottom 5 starting shortstops in baseball. Like, make it make sense.
It won't, but the St. Louis Cardinals have proven that they can make it make sense somehow. And the thing that I'm going to give them is you can have as amazing of a regular season as you want. The second the playoff starts, everybody's 0-0.
I don't disagree with you, but for me, this roster as presently constructed cannot do anything. Like, the best they can do is lose the ALDS. Because it does not matter how this shakes out now among division winners with the wild card. Let's not be real. They cannot beat the Mets. They cannot beat the Dodgers. They cannot beat the Braves. They cannot beat the Padres. Those are 4 objectively better teams than the St. Louis Cardinals as presently constructed. You needed to do more.
Yeah.
And when you're a consistent playoff team, I think you have to play to do more than just make the playoffs. And that's something I did not see out of the Cardinals. I didn't see it out of the Brewers either. So, I mean, it's a frustrating thing when you have two whole divisions mailing it in and saying, well, if we make it there, we're just happy to be included. Like, no, what are you doing?
That's where my theory. They all hate their fucking fans, man.
I don't know what it is. Like,
there's no other way to justify. Like, St. Louis is operating like St. Louis. Yeah, their fans understand that. But for the Brewers, it just it doesn't make sense.
I am really struggling with this. That's our trade deadline recap. Any last thoughts there on the deadline?
I think that it was a very entertaining deadline. The projection of this being one of the best ones in recent history, I'll give it to them. That was pretty good. I will say, I'll just hold off. I'll hold it to Boomer Bust.
Okay. You calling bull?
I'm calling ball. Sorry.
All right, you're calling ball. All right, that's fine. We'll quickly pivot though to fantasy.
Yeah.
Fantasy.
I don't think did we touch on it last week at all or no? I don't think we did. Right?
I don't think so. I think we slight standing update, but maybe that's about it.
Okay. All right. I know you guys are both itching to get at it, but I'll just run this out there real quick. I was a little tied up last week, unfortunately. I recently moved, a lot going on. Still managed to kick Justin's ass though, so that was cool for me. Literally came from behind in a weekend. Like he was up 100 points, and then I remembered. So that was cool. I took that personally, and then this week, Daryl actually came to play this week, so I give him some props. It's not gonna last long. I made a couple bad starting pitching decisions. Actually, I took what's his name, Jacob Junk, the pitcher for the Angels, got blown up today, so that was a bad call by me. Note to self: don't take an Angels pitcher that's not named Otani. That's on me though. I own that one, but it happens. Happens to the best of us. So I'm gonna come back though. I think where am I standing?
I'm looking at right now. You are actually in the lead by 5 points.
Ooh, look at that comeback today. I was gonna say, where am I at in the standing? I know me and Steven are still tied.
You are still number 2.
Oh.
And it's only because Steven has 2,000 more points than you.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But you have won 8 straight.
Yeah. That I have. What am I, 11-2, I think?
13-2.
13-2. Look at that. That got away from me quick.
You want to know what got away from everybody else quick? The concept that I've been saying for weeks. I am making the playoffs.
You're not out of it, man.
But if we look at the current playoff predictions, I am officially in the final playoff seat. So if the season ended right now as we speak, I would be in the playoffs. I would be currently playing you, Nick. So I'm sorry for your team, but it doesn't end now. For now, I am just sorry for Julian's team. I am on a
it was a rough Monday.
And how does it feel to be the St. Louis Cardinals of the fantasy baseball?
Oh, I told you. The second I make the playoffs, it's 0-0, baby. Then we're
that's cute and all, but I mean you're running into the Yankees and the Dodgers, and no matter what, you kind of screwed there, kid.
I'll take it.
This week, me and Brandon are playing. I currently have a 50-point lead, or 50-point deficit, my bad.
You do not.
50-point deficit, but my dogs are coming. My weekend rotation is coming around. This was the day I was really hoping for. Carrasco gave me the points I wanted, but then Kyle Wright got lit up, which is
the complete opposite.
Unfortunate for me, but great for you on 2 ends.
Yeah. know, it's okay. My pitching actually didn't do that well. But I told you guys
Yeah.
weeks ago, my revenge tour is coming. When I win at the end of the season, I want sincere apologies from everyone that's spoken in this podcast.
I think it also benefits that the only competent teams on my division are me and your brother.
Yeah.
That's also to your benefit.
It helps you so much. You have no
idea. The East is a different animal. Yeah.
But outside of the Padres winning the trade deadline, I think I am also a winner because now Juan Soto can get points, and ever since he's gotten traded to San Diego, he has not put up less than 5 points. So yay me. I'm also on this trade deadline.
Respect. Just don't do that till next week. Let it actually sink in until after.
All right. So we'll move on to our last segment. As you guys know, is always bull and ball. Julian, you got a bull to call?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm calling bull on this squad right here. It is just fucking unfortunate that you have 2 top generational talents and you can't win. And you're finding new and impressive ways to lose every day. 7 home runs in one day, 7 solo shots, and you still lose. It's generally getting impressive at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's. I almost want to say that's a ball.
That's not a ball. That is a bull, and it's getting dark here in Southern California.
In one part of it, specifically, there's a cloud in Anaheim.
Yeah.
But LA is doing fine. San Diego.
LA and San Diego are doing fine. It's just
there's a cloud hovering in Anaheim.
Yeah.
But Trout, I don't know what to tell you.
You can't even say that because he's hurt.
Yeah,
he's probably done for the season.
I'm gonna say something that you're not gonna want to hear. Shohei and Trout come next winter meetings are no longer gonna be Anaheim Angels or Los Angeles Angels.
No.
Shohei and Trout are gonna get traded, I think they're gonna fully commit to the rebuild.
They have to. And
they should have to. I'm gonna be honest. Trout is sticking around though.
Sure. Yeah, Trout has 6 more years on his contract, I think. But with the injury history, it's gonna be hard to move him.
Yeah. Well, even beyond that, he has a no trade, and he's I think he's on that Damian Lillard in the NBA thing of I said I wouldn't, so now I just can't back out of that. So he's very hardcore about it, I believe.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, you get the last one here. You get last licks call ball, sir. What do you got?
Okay. Similar to how gamblers and, us New York bettors and all these newly found betting states are going in terms of their futures bets, I'm going to call ball on the future winner of the second place NL League standings. Whoever comes in second place in the NL League is guaranteed to go to not only the World Series or to the NLS, but to most likely go to the World Series and possibly win. I say this because that is the easiest route. Follow me. It's a lot of math.
Yeah, no.
I was playing this out in my head before. So I truly think the Dodgers are winning the entire National League. So they will be the 1 seed, the way that it's currently constructed. They will then play the loser. Let's leave it at that. The 2 seed will either be the Mets, the Padres, or possibly Atlanta.
No, it can't be the Padres, right?
Yeah, no, it can't be the Padres.
Oh, the Padres.
It's either going to be the Mets or Atlanta.
Yeah, because it's division winner.
Because its division winner takes precedence over.
That proves my point even more. So between the Mets and Atlanta, whoever wins that, not only do they avoid the Padres, they then avoid the Los Angeles Dodgers and make it that much higher up the ranks.
Yeah.
So instead of the Padres, it's funny because then it's either Milwaukee or whoever or St. Louis.
Yeah.
Basically, whoever comes out in the number 2 seed in the National League is guaranteed to have a shot at winning the World Series.
Yeah.
And that's why I call ball on. So place your futures bets now.
I'm in. I'm buying on it just because it just makes sense. Because if the Mets need to win their division,
Yeah.
if they win it, you avoid everybody until the NLCS.
Yeah.
Because Atlanta will play San Diego in the first round. Whoever wins that goes to the Dodgers.
Yeah. And whoever wins that plays the number 2 seed. Meanwhile, the Mets or Atlanta, whoever comes out, will be coasting playing the St. Louis Cardinals, who we've already had a lengthy conversation about, or the Milwaukee Brewers, who, let's be honest, are not going to do that well. It's a cakewalk till right before the World Series.
So wait, here's my question for you then. As a Mets fan, of that trio, who do you root for?
To win.
Like who do you think you can take of that 3?
Of the 3 being who? Milwaukee.
No. San Diego, Atlanta, LA. Who are you rooting to meet in the NLCS?
Atlanta.
Ooh.
Because star power wise, Atlanta doesn't have it. So far this season, knock on wood, the Mets have straight up owned Atlanta. And I feel like it'd be a rightful finish for the season that it's been, especially since they're the standing current World Series chance to meet each other in the final round of the NL before the World Series. And I honestly, both LA teams are just a lot scarier.
Yeah. No, I get that. See, it's a weird one because in the American League, no matter where you end up, it's a dog. Like, I mean, you're either, what I think if it ends today, what is it? Tampa Bay and Toronto.
No. So as of right now, Yankees will have the 1 seed. Houston has the 2nd seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Toronto has the first wild card position. Seattle has a 2nd, and then Tampa Bay has the 3rd. So, right now, it'll be Toronto, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Minnesota.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The best.
Oh, that sucks.
The best scenario.
Oh no.
Is maybe Seattle comes to town.
No, because they would go to Houston, wouldn't they?
No, because Houston's the 2nd seed, so Houston would play whoever wins between Minnesota and Tampa Bay.
Correct. Yeah.
So Houston kind of.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. No. Sorry, I got that confused in my head. Yeah, no. That's what I want. I do not want Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Or we drop to the 2nd seed and Minnesota beats whoever they have to beat, and then we could just get Minnesota, and then
we all know what happens when Yankees and Minnesota meet.
I can just buy my ALCS tickets at that point.
I mean, with less than 60 games left in the regular season, this is what the teams have to strategically work on. And
for sure.
Out of the entire, talking playoffs and, like I said, futures betting, whoever has that NL 2nd seed is the ball of the regular season, in my opinion.
No, I like that. I like that a lot.
I like that a lot because even then, whoever you face in the first round, they're not going to eat a lot of your innings.
Yeah.
So you'll be fresh for that NLCS.
For sure. Well, gentlemen, this was a fun one. I really enjoyed it. We got a lot of stuff off our chest.
This is the longest episode to date?
Huh?
This is probably the longest episode to date?
No, the league previews were pretty lengthy affairs. They were about 2 hours a pop. But beyond that, this was a fun one. We got a lot off our chest. Julian's frustrated Angels fan. I hate all of the Central. And Brandon really believes in his Mets. So nonetheless, for Nick Hughes, Brandon Brito, Julian Delgado, thank you so much for joining us. It has been real. It has been nice. It has been really, really nice. And have a great rest of your night, guys.
You too.